And that, plus the sound of the steel from my car crunching against the steel from his truck, produced a deafening noise. A stench of burning rubber from the truck's tire rubbing against its fender filled the air so intensely that I could actually taste it. During all this, I could see the truck's actual tire pushing my steering wheel through the dashboard 6 inches away from my face and scraping a very painful hole in my shoulder. Several years later, as I was relating details of that crash to someone, my shoulder actually began to hurt, and it actually started to hurt when I was telling you about it just a minute ago. And I was really startled to realize that this multi-sensual, memorable experience was not only etched in my memory, but it was etched also in my body. And as a result of that, the recall of this crash led me to research the body, which ultimately took me to the work of Spinoza, the brilliant 17th century Dutch philosopher. Spinoza believed that the human mind is the idea of the human body. He anticipated a really important recent discovery, the essential role of emotion in allowing us to think. According to him, feelings are distinguished from emotions. Feelings come after emotions, like a shadow. Feelings are the translations of perception. Perception is of great interest to us in my firm, especially the deliberate slowing down of perception. Feeling refers to some variant of pain or pleasure as it occurs in emotion. Spinoza thought that a person is affected pleasurably pleasurably or painfully by the image of a thing past or future as by the image of a thing present. He also thought that the body is essential to feel space, something that Robert Smithson agreed with when he said consciousness is in the whole body. Later, architect Nigel Coates said the body is at the root of the feel of space. The body, I believe, should come first. But I also think that the importance of the body has not been given nearly the attention it deserves in architecture. Interest in Spinoza led me to a book just a couple years ago that I read several times because this book is by a doctor named Antonio Damasio, one of the foremost neurologists living today. Damasio's research recently has validated Spinoza's 450-year-old theories. One central theory that has been validated is that feeling is not the enemy of reason, but a stimulus for reason. In other words, mental processes start in the body and are grounded in the brain's mappings of the body. Feeling is the outcome of a stimulus on the body. I want to repeat that. Feeling is the outcome of a stimulus on the body. So the question is, do you have goosebumps because you're afraid? Or are you afraid because you have goosebumps? Think about it. Feeling is the outcome of a stimulus on the brain. In researching the senses, I was surprised by the relationship of these words to the senses. Aesthetic, taken from the Greek root, means sense perception. And beautiful, from the Latin word bellus, means having qualities that delight the senses. There's a book called Art, Beauty, and Pornography. And in that book, the author claims that because beauty has to do with the senses and delighting the senses, and pornography has to do with really delighting the senses, that pornography is closer to beauty than beauty is to art. The relationship of the senses is something that has interested me for years, and the reason that I've reread the Damasio book a couple times is that I didn't believe Spinoza when I first read it years ago, and this fella has proved that my first inclinations were probably correct. The research on Spinoza and the senses and Damasio has outlined the ingredients of a memorable experience to me. Experiences are created with clues that work across all the senses. Richard Serra's shift, which is up there now, the movement of the body as you walk through this work changes the viewer's physical relationship to the horizon line. Here, the perception of reality is collaborated through bodily experience. Real experience has to do with the body, with perception, and with memory. Architecture is experienced sequentially in 4 dimensions. This is the only project I'm going to show multiple pieces of together. This is a project that is in the design phase of our office, and it is a large restaurant, 12 artist lofts, 16 loft apartments, and it is this is not a single building, but it's a field of buildings, an assemblage of buildings that within them describe an urban place. And in the, I don't have a pointer, in the space between the buildings, people from the restaurant will eat, drink, and people in the artist studios, which are on the ground floor of this level, and then on the upper floor of the other level, will go out onto the urban space and sell their goods, so that this urban place will become like a bazaar if everything works out right. And we're supposed to start the working drawings on this anytime very soon. This is This is a project that we did years ago, a competition that we lost, that I still like. And it has to do with the strength of color lies in its emotional content. Therefore, color communicates. A persuasive emotion can result from a struggle between the sensual and the conceptual. Architecture is a phenomenon of the emotions. It lies outside simple questions of construction. The purpose of construction is to hold things together. The purpose of architecture is to move us. And the definition of emotion, when you trace it through some of its roots, is to move. But in reality, most architecture is incapable of immersing people in the intense emotional responses that are evident in literature and film. The emotion of fear as art is apparent in the work of several filmmakers. This is Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, and this one is from Terry Gilliam's Brazil, which is a film that I keep thinking about when I see these terrorists blow a place up, and an hour later, particularly in Israel, any evidence of it is gone, which this film predicted 20 years ago. With the work in our studio, our concentration is to communicate with architecture, to make people aware of architecture, to arouse their senses, and to, in a way, shake them up. But if we really want to communicate, I believe, architecture's rational analysis should not get the better of simple common sense. In other words, the perceptions that we all have in common. The low budgets that our offices face for so many projects has forced us to be responsive to what we can find off the shelf, and has made us value the potential mystery of ordinary things. Now, these are a series of views of mostly the library. This is one of the bulletin boards, and one of the things that we try to do with our work is just let things happen the way the people that are using the place want it to. So this is not orderly, it's not neat, it's just there. We're committed to a public legibility in our work. Architecture open to popular culture. Architecture people can know. We don't try to educate, we simply connect. Now this is a project that we're almost infamous for. This is on Dalzell, and this is one of my friends, has been for years. I did 2 houses for her. She still talks to me after this. Because people on the street were in awe of this surreal, bizarre red wall. Okay. That screwed up everybody's perception of their own houses and their safe, private places. Now, this wall starts out at the beginning of the house, goes all the way through it, comes out the back. And while it's inside, you can't be in a room anywhere in the house, from the basement all the way up to the 3rd floor, without encountering this place.